Hi, love. So before you scroll one more inch, I want to try something with you, and it only takes a second, I promise. I want you to pick one thing you are completely certain about. Less of a fact and more of a belief about how life works. Something like, you have to be realistic, or that's just who I am, or it's too late for someone like me to do something like that. Something that feels less like an opinion and more like the floor or the mountain you stand on. And I want you to hold the actual sentence in your head for a little while, the exact words behind that belief. And then here's the question I want you sitting with for the next few minutes. Did you ever actually decide that, or did it just arrive one day in someone else's voice and you have been treating it like truth ever since? Because on May 22nd, the astrology does a very specific thing that last happened about 80 years ago, and it is built precisely for that question. By the time we get to the end of this video, my hope is that you will catch one of these thoughts in the act. You will feel the seam through which they derived from. You will notice the exact place where your real thinking stops and the borrowed program begins. And once you see that seam, it stays seen. That is the whole gift of this moment. So here's the astrology. Gemini season just began. Yay! We live, we laugh, we love. And the sun crossed into Gemini, which means for the next month, the light is on the part of you that thinks, perceives, talks, and tells itself stories about what it's real. And almost immediately, on day 2, the sun catches hands with Uranus in Gemini. They meet at 1.5 degrees of Gemini, and they meet at the heart. In traditional astrology, there is a name for that planet sitting that close to the sun, and it's called a Cazimi, which means it's the heart of the sun. When a planet goes Cazimi, it stops being background noise, and it gets lit all the way up, clarified, handed a clear voice for one day. And here's what makes this one rare. Uranus only just walked into Gemini this spring for the first time since the 1940s. So this is the first time in about 80 years that the sun has reached in and lit up Uranus while it sits in the sign of the mind. Everyone alive right now is meeting this exact combination for the first time. We are all beginners here. And being a beginner, beginner's mind, is the whole point of Gemini. So that is the event that's happening. The light of the sun, the awakener that is Uranus, and the 1 degree of the zodiac that runs through your thinking, all stacked on the same morning. You barely even had your first sip of coffee yet. Now, most of you are going to read about the Cazimi, and they're going to see how it's treated like a weather alert, like expect the unexpected, surprises in tech, surprises in travel, plot twists, shakeups, and sure, the lights might flicker a little bit. Uranus has a sense of humor, but that framing keeps the disruption outside of you, like something that happens to you while you stand there waiting to find out. And that is the version that misses the actual gift of this transit, of this moment, of this Gemini season, because the surprise is not the point. Everybody wants the prediction, right? What is going to happen? Who does it hit? What should I brace for? And prediction has a place and time, and it can also quietly rob you of the real invitation here, which is to meet this moment with more questions than answers. Now, a lot of astrologers talk about Uranus like the planet of random chaos, when in actuality, it's a hell of a lot closer to the myth of Prometheus. I'm talking about the one who stole fire from the gods and handed it to the people who were told they would only ever watch that fire or experience that fire from the outside, when in fact, the fire was always more about our inner source of power. The fire was the awareness that the rules we live inside of were built by somebody else. Somebody drew them. It is that aha moment that anything that was designed can be redesigned. Now, when that fire lands in Gemini, it goes straight to the mind. So the disruption Uranus is offering this week runs deeper than a delayed flight. It is the sudden, almost physical click of realizing that a thought you have carried for years was installed in you by someone else a long time ago. The fire goes to the place you keep your certainties, and it asks gently, and sometimes not so gently, who actually put this here? So let's explore this even more. I want you to imagine you have lived your whole life in a dark room. You know it by feel. You know exactly how many steps to the table, where the wall is, where you stop, because the wall is there. You have arranged your entire life around where you believe that wall stands. Well, the Cazimi is the single flash of lightning in that room. For one bright second, you see it, and the room is bigger than you thought. The thing you have been treating as a wall your whole entire life, the one you stop at every single time, turns out to be a door. It was always a door. You simply lived in the dark long enough to take it for solid, so you built your whole life around it. And here's the part people miss about Uranus. The flash is too fast to walk you through the door. The lightning passes, the room goes dark again, and you are standing exactly where you were. So a lot of people decide that they just imagined that door. They imagined it. They go back to walking those old steps. But you get to make a different call because now you know, you felt that there's a door there. And that knowing is what this entire 7-year Uranus and Gemini transit is all about. The Cazimi is that first flash of lightning, the one that shows you the map, the one that shows you that something else is possible. Now, stay with me here because Uranus also has a trap, and it is a hell of a lot sneakier than the obvious one. The obvious track is that you ignore the flash and you keep walking through those old narratives. We covered that. But the sneakier trap is that you become a person who is against everything now, who tears down every wall on principle, who argues with the room just to prove that you are free. And that only looks like freedom, but it is also the old prison painted a completely new color. The old voice said, there's a wall here. And the trap says, do the opposite of what these walls are showing you. And both of them are still letting someone else hold your story. And honestly, I am deep in this myself right now because Uranus is moving through my 9th house. This is the part of your chart that holds your philosophy, your beliefs, the whole world you have built in your head about how things work and how things don't work. And what I feel called to right now is gentler than burning all of that down and starting over. What I'm being called to is to take those beliefs I'm most rooted in and to actually put them on trial, to challenge them and to see if they hold. And here's the honest part. That feels wonderful when someone agrees with me. It feels like an attack when someone challenges me, though. My first move is to defend, to protect the idea like it is me. But the idea is just an idea. It only feels like me because I have held it for so long. So the practice I'm actually in right now, the real one, is catching that flinch in that half second before it hardens and choosing curiosity over the reflex to defend, letting the challenge be interesting instead of dangerous, making curiosity the compass. Now, the Cazimi is asking me the same thing it is asking you. Which one of these beliefs are actually mine? And which ones am I just defending because I forgot I was allowed to question them? That is the work. This is where Gemini itself comes in because Gemini is the part of the zodiac that knows how to stay a beginner. Cheap astrology paints Gemini as the gossip, the scattered one. Real Gemini is the eternal student, the one for whom every answer cracks opens 5 new questions, the one who is at its best slightly surprised by what comes out of its own mouth because it stays loose about who it's supposed to be. And that is exactly the muscle this Cazimi needs you to learn from. It's the willingness to look at a belief you have held for a decade the way a curious stranger would, to say, is that even true? With real openness. The Sun in Gemini gives you a whole month of permission to be a beginner about your own mind. And here's something worth knowing about the last stretch when Uranus moved through Gemini. The real leaps of that era, the breakthroughs in how people thought and built, came from minds willing to sit inside a question long enough for something genuinely new to form. The genius lived less in the answers than in the practice to stay curious before grabbing one. The same patience is available to every one of us right now. It is the exact muscle this week is asking for. So Gemini season hands you the curiosity, therefore the Cazimi can hand you the flash. Therefore you get a real shot at seeing and walking through that door. The season and the one day are doing one thing together. The light shows you the room you're occupying, and the curiosity keeps your eyes open long enough to see what is in it. So here's what I am actually asking you to do this week, and it is small and on purpose. I want you to go back to the thought you picked at the very beginning of this conversation, the one you're absolutely certain about, the floor you stand on, the mountain you stand on top of. This week, before you act on it, even once, I want you to do one thing. Ask where it came from, out loud if you can. Whose voice is this belief in? When did it move in? Did I ever actually agree to it, or did I stop questioning it for so long that it started to just feel like me? And when the answers make you flinch, when you feel the urge to defend it start to rise up, then stay with that flinch, because the flinch is this whole moment. That's what this moment is all about. The belief you protect the hardest is usually the one you examined the least. So meet it with curiosity over the reflex to defend. Let the question be interesting. Make curiosity your compass this week and let it walk you straight toward the thing you are most certain about. Leave the answers alone for now. You are simply turning on the lights long enough to see whether it is a wall or a door you're walking to. That is the entire assignment for this Cazimi, to see those seams and to find those thoughts you've borrowed and to catch it wearing something that feels more like your own. Because the 7 years that are in front of us right now with this Uranus and Gemini transit, these years are going to keep flashing that lightning. And the people who get the most out of this transit are the ones who learn to trust what they see in that flash, to keep their minds and their heart and their bodies open to possibility, to keep reaching for those doors and to open them. The flashes of light and realization pass. It always passes. The room goes dark again, and your life will hand you 100 reasons to walk through that same loop, that same cycle, and to call it being realistic. But you felt where the door is now. Now keep your hand near that door and let curiosity be the thing that walks you toward it, toward possibility. It's an exciting time to be alive, as scary as it is sometimes. Now, if you want to go deeper on what Uranus is doing in your specific corner of your chart over the next 7 years, well, I broke that all down in my Uranus and Gemini video, and it is a natural next watch right after this one. If you haven't done so already, go there next. And if you want to be in a room with people in real time who are collectively integrating all this astrology in real time, well, then check out The Collective, my private membership community where you get horoscopes, you get readings, you get workshops, you get all of these beautiful resources packed into one beautiful offering. The link is below, and I would love to have you there. One more thing before I let you go. I want you to drop below in the comments that thought that's going under review right now, those beliefs that are going under review, and tell me what is bubbling up, what's rising up. I read these and I want to know what your lightning has showed you. Let's integrate and process in real time, my loves. I love you. I see you in the next one. Treat each other with kindness and curiosity. Treat each other the way you want to be treated. And that is it. That's the mission. Curiosity is our compass. I love you so much. Bye for now.